some fantastic presentations this morning, covering many different angles, and I think we're going to hear some of them play out again in a slightly different format as we do this in a debate. You know, and the basic structure of the debate is that we've seen recently, over recent years, a very rapid growth in some very powerful online retail brands. You heard just a second ago from Carrie from eBay. We heard this morning Martin talking about the fear of Amazon and the rise of Amazon. And these are companies who have used data extensively. They create data and they use data extensively in the way that they go to market. And the basis of the conversation we're going to have is: do these guys have it all? Do they have everything that they need in order to create incredibly powerful businesses? Or where does the role of the bricks and mortar retailer come in? And you know, Carrie talked about the playbook being thrown away. Is the playbook being completely thrown away? And if we throw the playbook completely away, do we actually are we in danger of throwing the baby out with the bathwater? Referencing John's presentation. Where's my, I'm here, okay. So this is almost impossible to read because the speaker's heads are in front of it. But if you just read the headline, and the headline's the important piece on this chart. Really, it's taken Amazon 5 years to do what it took Walmart 18 years to do in hitting a $1 billion revenue level. So, you know, what is it that they're doing right? Why are they moving faster, perhaps, than the bricks and mortar opportunity? You heard also this morning, just a few moments ago, from Caroline talking about the importance of connecting data. Do we need to connect data? Can we do it all with the data that we already have in-house, that we're throwing off as a part of being a digital player? How can we connect this data? Is it important? So, we're going to have a debate, and the debate, and I'll let you read the question there, in fact I'll read the question out. This House believes pure play retailers have an inherent advantage when it comes to understanding and connecting data to engage with consumers compared to the traditional retailer. What we're going to start off by doing is asking you to give your point of view on that question. So if you agree with that notion, could you hit button A? And if you disagree, could you hit button B? Has everybody got their votes in? Okay. Can we see the score? Oh, this is good. This is much more interesting. So we have agree. So the pen worked out. So we have agree at 47 and disagree at 53. So we've absolutely split the house pretty much down the middle here. So now let me introduce my esteemed panel, some of whom are already known to you. But let's go through it. So speaking for the motion, we will hear from team captain Jeremy Radcliffe from Compete. Jeremy runs our UK business. Joining him, you'll have Carrie from eBay, who you've just heard from. The team is rounded out by James Foord. James is responsible for business development at mySupermarket.com, and again has an interesting mix of retail, both online and traditional retail. And then speaking against the motion, in a team headed by my colleague from Kantar Retail here, Anne Zybowski. She will be joined and will be leading a team that includes our esteemed Compete Marketing Director, Stephen DiMarco, who you already know. But also they'll be joined by Alex Murray. Alex is responsible web and multi-channel development at the Waitrose company, and again has an interesting mix of traditional and online. So we've got a very illustrious and very interesting group of people who have an experience that transcends traditional and digital. I think we should also say respecting that. This is fun. There is a disclaimer here. People are going to have to argue to try and win votes rather than necessarily what they believe in, which never happens, of course. So simple rules, obviously, no punching below the belt, no eye gouging, biting, kicking, scratching. We'll keep it clean. The debate format is we're going to give each of the debaters a 4-minute window to make the case for or against the motion. And then the team captain will come and do a 1-minute sum up of the team's view. And then we'll give you the opportunity to vote on the outcome, whether you still believe what you believed when you came in to the room a few minutes ago. So, without further ado, may I call on the first speaker for the motion?
Thank you very much. You got me on mic here? Yeah. Okay, so contrary to what Andy's just said, we passionately believe that today pure play retailers have an inherent advantage when it comes to understanding and connecting data to engage with consumers. Notice the use of the word today. And this is because, and Carrie's pointed a lot of this out earlier, but this is because pure play retailers have an amazing familiarity with the data, the skills and the processes that underpins a lot of the decision making when it comes to retail today. So if you consider the fashion market, as Carrie just pointed out, think about the data trail that the shopper leaves behind. So when a person goes back online and returns their product, there's a great opportunity there to pick up information as to why they're returning it that just isn't possible to get, or very difficult to get in a traditional retail world. You're also able to bring the customer deeper into the business, so you can look behind the scenes, you can understand what trends, who's designing specific products, who the team is behind the business that's actually supporting the development processes, etc. So you can bring the customers deeper into the business, and again, that's leaving a huge data trail. But all of this data that pure play retailers have within this business has enabled them to develop fantastic skills. So the first P of 9 that you're going to hear from our panel is people. So one of the inherent advantages with pure play retailers is the people they have within the business and their familiarity with the data. The other part is the processes. Thank you very much. The processes that have been developed as a result of exposure to this data means they're always 2 or 3 steps ahead of the traditional retailers. So the eBays, mySupermarket, Amazon, etc. have got that advantage in understanding how to bring that data together and connect it with other consumers. And then also the practices. So what's the practice you would employ about when it comes to bringing that data together to get the best from the consumers in question? So the first of 9 Ps, practice, process, people, that really underpin that pure play advantage today in the marketplace. That's our assertion initially, from my point of view.
Okay, right. Are these guys taking the Ps?
Yes, we will. So I'm going to agree with what Jeremy just said around the notion of all the data and connection points that is now available in the online world, and to use the words that Scott kicked us off with this morning, that digital has been a great disruptor of the retail environment. But we're going to reject the House argument that it has an inherent advantage, particularly when 97% of the sales today are done in the context, to use Rory's words, of the store environment. If you only have visibility into the 7%, you have an inherent disadvantage in understanding the whole consumer that Caroline took us through. So if we start with connection as part of that first step towards then using those insights towards engagement, on the connection point, if we can only see online, to get to the whole consumer, we've got to be able to add the other context of the store experience. And then as Alex can talk to, as we take a look at engagement, the ability to take those insights and action them when you've got a whole myriad of touch points that expands upon that beyond what you have in the digital world, that enables you to engage more deeply. So when we take a look at Tesco as an example of leveraging those insights and having people and processes to leverage that through the club card, they can pull together the best of online and offline. And as we saw in a study we did jointly between Compete and Kantar Retail, even in online grocery, you've got 27% of people shopping online. 21% are also shopping in the store, so they're shopping both. When they do click and collect, 80% of those people are actually still going in stores. So when we take a look at eBay to Amazon and a lot of the successful pure plays, I'd challenge you to explain why those retailers are seeing Athleta, Pixmania, they're moving to the offline world as well and quadrupling sales and seeing great success by pulling the two together.
Okay. It's back on to you, Carrie. Is Carrie going next?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it is. Forgot everything I just said. So picking up on the next set of P's, one of the things that we know after 15 years of being a pure play retailer, there is a direct correlation between the amount of inventory that you can offer and sales growth. And the more inventory and the better selection you can offer, and it's almost without limit. So the first P I'd like to talk about is product in terms of selection. The retailers that will win going forward are the retailers that can combine the best possible selection with the best possible navigation tools. And that is inherently an advantage of a pure play retailer. I was actually really struck also by the shelf set, and having come from packaged goods world, I know all the tricks you can do in terms of driving that purchase behavior in store by messing around with the shelf set. Well, messing around with the shelf set is an incredibly capital, human resource intense thing to do. Online, we can change our shelf set instantaneously, and we can change our shelf set based on real-time data. So for example, one of the things that we're able to do, we have this very clever best match algorithm. We know that if we can adjust that best match algorithm, so of the 2 million dresses that we have at any given time, if we know black maxi dresses are suddenly trending because of seasonality impact, or because something was featured, or because Cheryl Cole happened to wear one to the Grammys, it will instantaneously change the inventory that our users see when they're searching for dresses on site. It's an incredibly powerful, incredibly responsive idea in terms of how you put the right inventory to the person at the right time. The second P that I'll talk about is around good old-fashioned price. I mean, it's very old school, but price is still the single most important factor that people take when shopping for any category. And price, from a value standpoint, we talk about all that inventory. Well, stocking all that inventory and holding all that inventory in very expensive real estate is not great for the bottom line. Pure play retailers can hold that inventory wherever they see fit. And if it's a warehouse in Slough versus a very expensive store on Oxford Street or Bond Street, there's an inherent cost advantage that can be reinvested back into the margin and the pricing. The last one I'm going to talk about is what I'm going to call cross-border trade. I'm going to cheat because you need a passport to go to another country. So there's the P. You saw it in the video. This was the one that staggered me. I knew most of the data that was in the video. I knew Pinterest was driving more retail purchasing than any other online site. What I didn't know, I had no idea, and I've been close to it, so shame on me. I had no idea what the developing markets were going to represent moving forward. The reality is, any domestic retailer, if they're lucky, might be able to eke out 4, 5, 6% growth over the next couple of years. Maybe, if they're really, really clever and they're really, really lucky. The explosive growth will come from developing markets for retailers. And those retailers that can best get into those markets will win. And pure play retailers have an inherent advantage there too.
Okay, so it's all about algorithms. We don't need a salesman. We can do it all through digital.
Yeah.
What can we see?
Good. I just have a hard time forgetting what Carrie talked about in her last presentation. It was so good.
No punching, no kicking.
I mean, the basic crux of the matter is that retail is fundamentally a multi-channel industry because consumers predominantly shop across multiple channels. Anything that a digital pure play can do, a multi-channel retailer can do plus has a store to deliver on the physical experience that consumers crave. Anne provided some great examples from Tesco. Alex, I'm certain, will weigh in with his personal experience with Waitrose and John Lewis, which will be great. But the point is that if you don't have visibility across multiple channels, then you don't have all of the data necessary to understand consumers' path to purchase wholly. And being blind, or at least partially blind, presents a distinct disadvantage to online pure plays. And I would delineate between compensating for a weakness in one area from having a proficiency or a competitive advantage in another area. You guys are compensating for a weakness. And rather than just kind of argue with fancy, I'll throw out some facts here, because we have some good data sources here in Kantar Retail. I'll give you an example from a department store here, Argos, that had been a multi-channel retailer, so Sills has stores and also has online presence, had been serving a particular region exclusively online, so dealing with that passport issue. Well, not limited by the passport issue. They were dealing with a particular region online, selling online only 700,000 pounds annually just from online sales into a region that didn't have a store. They used the data from those online sales to recognize that there was an opportunity to invest in a storefront, smart retail strategy that Carrie referred to earlier, and the results that they had were incredible. One, online sales tripled from 700,000 to 2.1 million. Two, check-in reserve sales grew from 0 to 1.2 million. And three, in-store sales grew from 0 to 3.6 million. So that's a 9x increase in sales in that region from providing a multi-channel experience and understanding how to optimize across those channels, whether it was online, click and buy in the store, or purely buy in the store. By the way, if you only have one channel, you can't optimize. You can only really make that one channel work as hard as it can. So I give you these facts because we think that the multi-channel experience provides the most data to really understand the multi-channel consumer. And while the revenue impact of the Argos story is remarkable, I think the data side of the story is just as remarkable.
James, what do you think about that?
Well, I feel slightly guilty about being on the panel today, because when I was told what to argue about, it really felt like I was going to be killing off an otherwise old, lumbering, wounded animal. And it felt a little bit unfair for me to do that. But hey, I guess that's part of the reason I was invited. So we'll do it anyway. And the facts are great. And the great thing about some of that data is it doesn't take into account the speed at which the customer is changing, which some of our illustrious speakers alluded to earlier, and takes into account not one iota that, in my view, the rule book has kind of gone out the window, and each customer is different, and you adapt or die. And it's as simple as that, and that's why the non-pure plays are, as we know and well documented, are dying or desperately trying to adapt. So I'm going to give you my 3 Ps very quickly. And one is personalisation. Each customer is different. They expect their own unique treatment. You can't do that if you're a traditional retailer. It's pretty much one size fits all. You cannot adjust your offering in real time based on what that customer is doing and how they're behaving. It's very difficult to predict their needs and wants in a live, dynamic environment, which of course is what they are now playing in with their mobile devices. So as much as they'd like to think that the data's compelling, and there is indeed still a massive amount of sales to be gained from the traditional formats and the offline, there will be little or no growth. It doesn't take you very long to discover that the bricks and mortar of this world are single digit at best, whereas we know pure play is just going to keep growing 20, 30, 40%. And that's year after year after year after year. Second one is point of purchase. We can test and test and test 1,000,001 different techniques at the point of purchase with that customer. You can't do that in bricks and mortar. You can't do that offline. You're governed by margin, you're governed by what you can eke out of the square footage of your space. Actually, square footage online is irrelevant. I always remember the analogy of years ago, stores do not have elastic walls. You've just got to play within that space. Our walls are entirely elastic. We could just keep going and going and going. And it doesn't really matter what you want or what you need, because we can react in real time and give it to you. And that's what's going to make you come back, and that's why you're going to keep growing and growing. My last P.
Go on, I'll give you 30 seconds.
And that's progress. The consumer is multi-channel now. The consumer is changing. The consumer has changed and will continue to do so. And unless these guys adapt, and they're not adapting fast enough, then they'll die too. I'll give you one famous, semi-famous quote from the CEO of Tesco this week. Came out and said, look, we're going to talk about a profit warning, and that's because we haven't invested enough in online, and we've lost touch with what our customers are asking us to give them. And that's from the CEO of Tesco. He recognises, yeah, multi-channel, great. He's recognising that they just haven't taken it seriously enough.
Thank you. So, completely inflexible opportunity for traditional retailers. Your view on that, Alex?
Well, I agree with a lot of that, because I think you're right. It's change or die. That's true. That's true of retail. It's true of physical retail, and it's true of online retail. In fact, it's true of any channel. It's not really what we're debating. What we're debating is that pure play retailers have an inherent advantage. And to go back to my illustrious colleagues here, you do not have an inherent advantage when it comes to understanding and connecting data. And I think we make a big mistake if we don't think that all channels, including bricks and mortar, have a role to play. And whether those grow, or how they adapt, or how they change, and how the physical store environment will change in the future, because it will, absolutely, and how that balance changes isn't really the point. The point is we are going to have fresh sources and changing sources of data. And I think that traditional retailers do have an inherent advantage, because they understand the importance of taking the data, the information that they get about their customers, wherever it comes from, and making it work for them in whatever channels they have available to them. So we touched on the John Lewis and Waitrose click and collect example we had earlier. And it's absolutely true that we've seen this phenomenal uptake in interest from customers saying, I want to do click and collect. And of course, our sister division over in John Lewis says, well, we need some sites that we can do click and collect from. Come on, Waitrose, you've got 240 stores, help us out. And that's been a really key part of also learning about those customers. So another really good example for me is we have a partnership credit card. Some of you may have seen it. And the great thing about that in terms of data is not only does it give us visibility of those customers across channels, it gives us visibility of those customers across divisions, so John Lewis and Waitrose, but of course because it's a credit card, we get all the competitor information as well. So when I'm looking at our wine business, for example, I can go through and I can say, okay, well this person's buying from Laithwaite's this often, or they're going to the Wine Society, or they shop at Tesco, but they're also buying from Waitrose Wine Direct. That data for me is really useful, and it helps me think about decisions like POS in store, how do I promote certain propositions and brands across those different channels. And we've had lots of examples really within Waitrose where we've been able to materially take data from multiple sources and use them to shape both the physical environment and product proposition as well, and also think about how that's delivered in the online environment. And I think that inherent advantage is that there are absolutely learnings, retail learnings about customers that you can take across multiple channels. And indeed, you absolutely have to do that. So when we were looking at the essential Waitrose range, or the brand price match that we did, we had to take that information and feedback from customers, whether it be hard data in terms of what people are looking at online, and how they engage with those products, but also very much what people were saying in store and what they were doing in store and how they reacted and related to those products. So that's been really key. And going back to what we heard this morning about the humanity of retailing, this is a really key thing for me. Consumers are humans, they are not programs. I don't know how many remember that film The Net with Sandra Bullock? It was like in 1990, whatever. But no one knew who she was because she was locked in a room. But that is not what retailing is like. Retailing is about connecting with your consumers. And consumers are physical people as well as wanting to engage with us in a virtual channel. So I think the inherent advantage we have is we're going to look our customers in the eyes and we're going to connect with them in a virtual world as well. And that data can be leveraged to our advantage.
Thank you, Alex. So, I would now call upon the two team captains, starting with Jeremy, to sum up their team's view.
Okay, so for us it's about the 9 Ps, but just before we go into that, I just want to say, I think Team B just sort of wandered off the point a little bit. Alex kind of brought it back for you, but just wandered off the point a little bit. We sort of ended up in this zone of is offline the future or online the future? What we were talking about is understanding and connecting data. And out the P's that I mentioned at the beginning, process, practice, and people, well, when you're exposed to that kind of data through pure play, you're very comfortable with it. Those processes change, they adapt very quickly, those practices and those people get up to speed on how to do those things. So those 3 Ps are incredibly important and to the point. Product, price, and passport/presence. Selection, the immediacy of choice when it comes to the products you have in a pure play world, and knowing how to serve those up to those consumers at the right time, incredibly important. Wonderful price advantages as well through online, and this cross-border buying, the lack of passport required to go and buy overseas. And then to James's points, personalisation, it's difficult to believe you can personalise in quite the same way in an offline world as you can in an online world. I know I'm wandering off the point. Point of purchase, being able to learn how to get the right CMS to arrange the right content for your customers, incredibly important. Precision, getting really, really detailed numbers and accuracy around those numbers, incredibly important. And also getting an understanding of what people are doing, not just when they're on your own platforms, but when they go off into the web along their path to purchase online. I mean, how many times have you seen customers go into the store and then wander out again and have absolutely no idea where they're going? Perhaps they're going to a competitor, I don't know. So those are our 9 Ps. And that's why we think pure play retailers have an inherent advantage at connecting and understanding consumers over traditional retailers today.
Anne, would you like to sum up the multi-channel point of view?
Thank you. So in today's wireless world where the shopper is omni-channel, the future of retail has to be multi-channel in order to engage in all those different touch points fundamentally. So I come back to sort of the house argument here. And again, if the future is multi-channel because our shopper is multi-channel, we have to be able to have all of the right connections that include the context in-store and with humans, as you talk about in-store, if that's what the shopper chooses at that time, but leveraging all the information that we have as we connect any channel. You've got an inherent disadvantage if you're uni-channel, whether that's pure play, catalog, or any of the other touch points at store. Anything you could do in pure play, we can do better as multi-channel. And we'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Anne. Right. So now you've had the opportunity to hear both sides of the story. In tried and tested fashion, what we're going to ask you to do again is to vote. We've rephrased the question here, I noticed, being a bit researchy about it, which was the best debate team. So you can answer that question first of all. So who was the best debate team?
Just ask yourself.
You've got Jeremy. That's below the belt. So was it A, Jeremy's team, or B, Anne's team? So this is on the quality of the debate you've heard. They roared. Yeah, nicely set up, Stephen, if that was you. Okay. And then coming back to the original debate proposition, just to remind you, no, I won't remind you actually. I won't remind you because I don't want to influence how you vote now, potentially. So now looking at the question again, that this House believes pure play retailers have an inherent advantage when it comes to understanding and connecting data to engage with consumers compared to traditional retailers. Do you agree with this? Would you disagree? Do you agree or disagree? A, agree. B, disagree. Can we have the result, please? Oh, it's moved. So just to remind you, first time around, we had 47% agreeing that pure play had the advantage. This has now dropped to 43. And so the multi-channel has actually moved up 5 points to 58%. So although the teams were equal in terms of debating quality, 50-50, there has been a sizable shift in favor of the multi-channel play. Anyway, that was a bit of fun, but I think it was useful because I think we got a lot of interesting points out, and I think it brought together some of the points that you've heard this morning. Before I hand back to Stephen, who is going to summarize what we've heard today, what I'd like you to do is just put your hands together and thank the speakers for taking part in this and preparing it. Thank you very much, guys.